Happy New Year, everybody. Well, here we are, the first episode of the Great Divorce Podcast in January 2026. Now, some of you may be aware that January has a bit of a reputation in the divorce world. In fact, some people have come to call January Divorce Month. This is because divorce filings tend to spike right around the new year. For instance, surveys of family law attorneys have found that many lawyers report noticeable upticks in divorce filings in January. In fact, one survey found that more than 30% of divorce attorneys reported a significant increase in filings in January compared to other months. Some legal sources have also cited increased filing statistics for January. Online platforms that process legal questions have also reported that in January and February, divorce-related questions increased. For my part, I've never kept any statistics on the amount of inquiries that I get in January as opposed to, say, August or September. I know I probably should, but when you're busy, you focus on your clients, and that's the way it should be. One thing I can say is that I'm always busy in January. And as of this recording, today being January 8th, which is only 5 business days into the new year, I've had 2 people reach out to me already to consult me about using my services. So I expect it's going to be a busy spring. Let's spend a few minutes examining what's behind this January effect, and then let's look at how this New Year's interest in divorce can stand a better chance of long-term success. A better chance of long-term success than maybe that January gym membership. There's no single cause leading to January's designation as divorce month. There's a number of factors at play. These can be social, cultural, financial, psychological, all at the same time. One of the main reasons for the January effect is simply that many couples who are already unhappy put off separating during the holidays to avoid disrupting family traditions. They don't want to upset the children, whether they're minor children or adult children in the case of gray divorce. People also want to get through all the planned events of the holidays, like travel, parties, things like that. So essentially, many unhappy couples are calling a Christmas truce. Of course, the holidays can also worsen simmering marital tensions. Maybe there's financial stress associated with travel or gift giving. More time is being spent with family members, and unfortunately, familiarity can sometimes breed contempt and exacerbate strained relationships. And of course, the holiday season being party season, well, that can lead to increased alcohol use, which, combined with simmering resentments, can create a lethal marital cocktail. Psychologically, we all know that the new year is strongly associated with new beginnings and resolutions. For people going through marital problems, January can feel like an opportunity for a new beginning, a chance to hit the reset button. It can be the time to finally stop postponing a difficult decision and to begin to align your life with who you are and what you want out of the world. There are also practical considerations. After the end of the year, bonuses are paid or at least determined, and we start to put documents in order as tax season approaches, so we can have more clarity with regards to finances and what we've got. Another practical consideration, although less so among older divorcees, is timing with respect to children in school. With the kids back in school, parents can plan custody schedules around the school calendar, and there's time to get things organized before summer vacation comes. We could see that marriages don't necessarily fail in January. It's just a time when people seem to act on decisions that may have been building for months or even years. Let's say you're one of these people who decided that it's time to act on moving forward from an unhappy marriage. What do you do about it? Well, we all know about New Year's resolutions and fresh starts. They often don't work out too well. You've probably heard about the studies claiming that 80 to 90% of New Year's resolutions fail by the first couple of weeks of February, and that only about 10% of resolutions succeed over the long term. Well, if you want to get your divorce right, there's a few things you need to do. And hiring the right divorce professionals, I think, is key. The first thing you may think is, well, I need to get an attorney. Well, yes, you will need to get legal advice. The only thing worse than divorce is having to relitigate it 10 years because dumb, avoidable mistakes were made, because you didn't seek proper qualified legal counsel. As I've said before on the podcast, some attorneys specialize in taking divorce to trial. Others may only work with very wealthy clients. The stereotypical divorce attorney we see in the movies, the so-called shark, may be highly litigious and very expensive. But if you've been listening to the podcast long enough, you know that there are alternatives. Many attorneys have become disenchanted with what I like to call the divorce industrial complex. Alternative approaches such as mediation, collaborative law, and the amicable divorce network provide a framework for settlement-minded attorneys to work with clients who want to avoid a lengthy and expensive litigated divorce. Of course, not every divorce is the same, and there will be cases where skilled litigators are needed. But remember that divorce cases rarely go to trial. About 90 to 95% of cases are settled before trial, often because the parties are exhausted either mentally or financially. Let's understand that divorce is a legal process, but it's really about money. That's why it's so important that you find a highly trained financial professional to help you avoid the financial landmines of what could be the largest financial transaction of your life. This is what I do as a certified divorce financial analyst, and I like to think of myself as my client's divorce CFO or divorce chief financial officer. I help you put together a plan that focuses on your needs and goals and ultimately your long-term wealth and well-being. Your divorce CFO will work with your attorney to help you and your attorney craft a settlement that looks to your future, that builds a good financial foundation for the next 20 to 30 years. Now, if you want a free copy of my white paper on how to create financial independence after mid to late life divorce, just shoot me an email at andrew@wiserdivorcesolutions.com. Now, way back on episode 7 of the podcast, I discussed some key tips, some key things you need to know in the early stages of divorce. I'm not going to go into all of those again in great detail, but I think it's important that if you're ready to pull the trigger on divorce, that you understand some of these practical things you might want to be doing now. And the first thing is, you need to make sure you've got money available to you. Divorce is very cash hungry. There are filing fees, attorney fees, retainers, mediation fees, apartment rent if you're moving out, counseling costs if you're seeking the help of an emotional professional therapist, which in many cases I strongly recommend, and other expenses. Remember that money that previously supported one household will now need to stretch to support two. So I recommend that you have a bank account in your own name just in case things get difficult. And it's important to have money in that account. The key word here is control. This is an account that you control. You're not concealing it. Everything is above board and disclosed. It's just an account that only you can get at. I also recommend getting a credit card in your own name and, if possible, getting off your ex-spouse's or soon-to-be ex-spouse's credit cards. A second thing to do in these early stages is collect financial documents. Preparing for divorce means that you've got to collect all the relevant documents in your financial life. Bank and brokerage statements, credit cards, mortgages, tax returns, car loans, you name it. Speaking of the house, know how the house ownership is titled and know exactly who's on the mortgage. This may sound obvious, but I've had many cases where one of the parties wasn't sure if they were on the title or sure if they were on the mortgage. If you're not sure of anything financially, Do your best to find out. Otherwise, you're going to end up running up your divorce expenses. The easier you make it for your divorce attorney and your divorce financial advisor, the less time they need to spend chasing down the information and figuring it out. It's also very helpful if you can assemble all the documents that you'll need to trace separate property. Remember, separate assets are assets you or your ex owned before the marriage and kept separate. Separate property may also be received during the marriage in the form of a gift, inheritance, or legal settlement. Once you've made copies, don't store these documents at home. Store them with a trusted friend or a family member or a safe deposit box that only you can access. I also recommend getting a fresh credit report. It's a good idea to pay attention to any changes in the delivery of financial documents. If statements are no longer being delivered to your home, your spouse may be trying to hide something. Okay, number 3, don't overlook any assets or anything of value. Key assets in divorce are typically the family residence and retirement plans. The retirement plans can be pension plans, profit sharing plans, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, SEPs, basically any combination of letters and numbers. That's a stash that's put away for retirement. It's usually a retirement plan. Now, if it was put away during the marriage, then it's community property, even if it's in the name of only one spouse. It's subject to division. Don't forget smaller assets. Some may not be as small as you think. These might include some assets in safe deposit boxes or, for example, frequent flyer points. One colleague of mine had a client, her husband, at 1.4 million frequent flyer miles. That's enough to lease an SUV for 3 years. Other overlooked assets may include vacation and sick pay. A side business may also have value. There are also furnishings, vehicles, jewelry, hobby equipment. It's important that you consider the tax consequences of any property settlement going forward. Let's look at retirement plans again. Let's say you agree to split your husband's $200,000 401k. If you need access to these funds, you're going to have to pay taxes and possibly penalties depending on how you take the distribution. So instead of getting $100,000, you may only get $60,000 or $70,000. Consider also the tax consequences of keeping or selling the house in divorce. I'm not going to get into all the details of the $250,000 capital gains exclusion for individuals and the $500,000 exclusion for married couples right here. But it's important to note that if you've got a lot of equity in your house, you want to plan the divorce in a way that you can take advantage of these potential tax breaks. I strongly recommend speaking to a divorce financial analyst and your tax advisor about this issue. Another thing you need to do in divorce, prepare. With preparation, and that means educating yourself about the divorce process, you'll be less confused or afraid and better able to act rather than react. Learn as much as you can about the process. I mean, for one thing, it's great that you're listening to this podcast today. Read books about divorce. I recently wrote 3 chapters in a book called Divorce Amicably. It's been called the Dictionary of Divorce. It's a terrific resource. I recommend you get it, and it's available on Amazon. Divorce Amicably. Another key point in preparation is Social Security. Timing is a key issue here as well, but this time it pays to wait. If you and your spouse have been married for 10 years or longer, when you reach Social Security age, you can collect benefits based on your earnings record or your ex's earnings record, whichever is higher. I recommend listening to Great Divorce Podcast, episode number 3 on Social Security and divorce. Another thing, prepare a budget and monitor your spending. In a litigated divorce, the course is going to require that you fill out a document called a financial affidavit, which includes your budget. It's good to look at both your past budget and a future budget, recognizing, of course, that after divorce, maintaining 2 households is more expensive than maintaining one. So it's highly unlikely that either party is going to completely retain their original marital standard of living, at least in the first few years after divorce. It's also a good time to concentrate on your personal and professional development. If you weren't working or have a job instead of a career, this is a good time to figure out your future path. Maybe go back to school. You might negotiate more spousal support up front to allow you the time to take classes. It's important to have a healthy outlet for your emotions as well. Exercising, hiking, walking. Maybe you take up yoga or boxing even. Meditate. Take a luxurious bath or simply take a day to binge watch your favorite TV series. I don't recommend too much TV, but sometimes we've just got to veg on the sofa. But the more balanced you can remain through divorce negotiations, the faster the process will go. The more confident you'll feel, and the quicker you can start to heal and begin your new life. It's always a good idea to surround yourself with good friends and family. And your friends and family may change during your divorce. Some people will drift away and others will step up. Moving forward, you want to be surrounded with loving, supportive people. But I understand even people with the best intentions may not offer the best advice. That's why it's so important to seek out professionals. In conclusion, if divorce is on your agenda for the new year, you're on the right track here. You're getting educated about the process, and knowledge is power, certainly in divorce. If you'd like to have a free private consultation with me about your situation with absolutely no obligation, I'd be happy to talk to you. Visit my website, transcendretirement.net, or send me an email at andrew@wiserdivorcesolutions.com. I wish you a happy, safe, and prosperous year ahead.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Grey Divorce Podcast. To learn more or get in contact with your host, you can visit Andrew's website at transcendretirement.net. Also, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Information provided is educational only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Each situation is unique and should be discussed with your tax or legal advisor prior to implementation. Andrew Hatherley is not an attorney and does not provide legal advice. Information provided is financial in nature. Advisory services offered through Hatherley Capital Management, LLC. Divorce financial analysis services offered through Wiser Divorce Solutions, an affiliated company.